My name is Madalena. I'm the co-director of the Lisbon chapter from Startup Grind, and I'm here with my director, Stella. She's the blonde one. She's muted. And today we're going to have a lovely workshop on storytelling, which will be conducted by Gisela. Gisela, you want to say hi to everyone?
Hi, everyone. Super excited to be here with you guys to discuss how storytelling can improve product and to also exchange experiences with you guys.
Yeah. So as we said in the beginning, we're going to mute everyone just to make sure that we have a steady flow when Gisela is explaining her concepts. If you have any questions, any comments, just post your question on the chat or just raise your hand and we'll unmute you at the right time when it's time for you to ask questions. I wanted to start by introducing Startup Grind to people who might not know. So Startup Grind is a global community with chapters all over the world. This is the Lisbon chapter. We've started, well, the Lisbon chapter has been around for quite some time, but we've reignited it recently. And this is our second event. So we're very happy to have you here. So Startup Grind is a community for entrepreneurs and creatives and people from all over the world to come together and just support each other in their entrepreneurial endeavors. We know that starting something from scratch can be very hard. Both me and Stella are entrepreneurs and we have our own startups. And so it's good to know people who are in the trenches with you and just build those connections and have a network of people who know what you're going through and support you. We have very core values, very important values that we stand by, which are we believe in making friends and not contacts. And we believe in giving before taking and not taking actually. And we believe in helping others before helping yourself. So our motto usually is asking people how you can help them today. And this is something that we share among the community. So it's something that if we can, we will impart to you as well. And today we're going to have the workshop on storytelling. We have a couple more events coming this June because it's SG Women Month. We have a panel on women in tech in June 17th. We're going to focus on the struggles faced by women in tech and how we can do things to improve the diversity and equality among the tech industry. And on June 24th, we're going to have a women founders panel, which will also be very interesting. And we encourage all of you to join. You can check out the links to both the events. They will be up soon on our Startup Grind page. So yeah, that's about it. Without further ado, Gisela, I will pass the word to you.
Thank you, everyone. So first of all, I'm super happy to be here and to see so many people interested in talking about storytelling and what it means for the product and for developing a product. I really believe that a role that is emerging and that at some point is actually going to become an official role is going to be the product storytellers. So I would like to try and make this at least a little bit interactive. I know we have a lot of people, super happy about that. So if you have any questions, feel free to stop me. You can raise your hands. You can write on the chat and either Madalena or Stella will warn me. Okay, so feel free to ask me questions and let me just set up. So share screen. Okay. Now let me just put this and take the image from here. So can you guys all see my screen?
Yeah, we can see you.
Okay, great. Again, if you have any questions or you just want to intervene, feel free. And let's start with this. Okay. So first of all, how many of you are working with product or product development or even marketing and branding? from you guys. Can you write on the chat or raise your hand? Can you unmute them for a little bit? Okay.
Quite a lot of people are writing me in the chat.
Yeah, a lot of people is saying.
Quite a lot of you. Excellent. So what is storytelling and why is it so important for product? So basically storytelling, well, first of all, is one of the oldest ways that people use to express their beliefs, to say what they mean, to explain themselves, to transfer knowledge. It's something that's been done since our ancestors. And the beauty of storytelling, the power of it, is that like this image here, it brings everything together. It brings the content, the experience, the story, the emotion, it's marketing, it's communication. It's the bringing of everything together. And it would also be super nice if bringing it together made the computer work. So what do we talk about when we talk about storytelling in product? So again, storytelling is the ability that you have to convey your idea in an engaging narrative. So basically you can say it's your way to convince people, to persuade people, to tell what you mean, to explain what something is for. And the goal, as I mentioned here, is to get your audience to empathize and relate to your product, service, or idea. And this is a very common technique. It's one of the best to get internal buy-in. I think we've all been in the situation that we have an idea, we have a new product, we have a new feature that we want to develop, and we need to convince people, right? We need to advocate for what we believe in. We need to advocate for our idea, why we believe it's solving a problem. Why do we believe it means something? So how and where can storytelling help me? Oh, it could help me. I can tell you the story of a command that doesn't work with the computer. So one of the things it can use a lot, it's with the problem framing. I'm sure pretty much all of you have think of it, okay, there's a product, there's a story, you're excited about the product, but you're still struggling a bit on how to really nail it down, what it's going to do, what it's going to solve in a way that people can understand it. And storytelling is perfect for your problem framing. Why? Because it helps you map the user journey. So it helps you think on what is the person that's going to be involved. Why are we doing this? What is the result that we want to achieve? And it really helps us nail down the famous why that we always hear about from Simon Sinek and many other authors on why we are doing what it is that we're doing. And it also helps you really nail the conditions that it happens that require the solving. So you can use it for journey mapping, the user flow to really understand what the user would do throughout your product, throughout your digital product. For instance, what buttons they would go through. What is the navigation that you want them to go through? What is the journey that you want them to go through? Solution sketches, when you need to present and explain your idea. And even also for the prototyping process, when you really start to think what is the solution, before you get to the end, you really need to understand what is the story, what is the end of this. So I usually like to talk about some of the pillars of storytelling. And we call them the 5 W's, because you have to think about why you do what you do. So what is the problem? There are many problems. So why is this specific problem worth solving? Who does it affect? And that's when you create your personas, when you think, who is this problem affecting? Who am I talking about here? Who am I directing? And where? So it's always from the general to more and more narrow and more specific. So why do you do what you do? Who is affected by this? Why is this problem even worth solving amongst so many other problems? Where does it occur? And when? Like how often? And it's valid for product or service. So again, why are you building it? Who is affected? Who needs this? And what are the main points that you need to do? And most of all, when you think about the storytelling and you think about the product, what are the changes that it brings to your customers' lives? What are the changes that you think your product is bringing? You know, and this again comes from a video from Simon Sinek that I can maybe share after our meeting, where he talks about the why, the how, and the what. And he gives the example of Apple. So the purpose. What is your cause? What do you believe in? And Apple says, we believe changing the status quo and doing things differently. Right on. So how? How is the process? Well, by specific actions to realize the why. So our products are beautifully designed. They're easy to use. That's the example of Apple's how. So what? What is the result of this? So what do you do? Well, we make computers. And then they expanded to other products. So this is basically the basis of a storytelling. Are you with me so far? Any questions? Is this something you've heard about before? Are these familiar concepts that you've heard about before in your work life and when you try to define your products? You can unmute, raise hand.
Or you can also use the reactions button that you will see at the bottom on your of your screen. Unmuting is not. We are not at the moment. We are keeping the unmute.
Okay, so I'm gonna count on you ladies to help me coordinate with the chat and if there are questions. So I'm gonna assume that everything is okay so far. And continue. Wait, if my laptop states. So one of the most important aspects before you start storytelling that really helps organize your ideas is storyboarding. So put it in drawings, put it in Post-its, put it in a flow. That's why I'm really storyboard. Because when you start putting your ideas into a flow, into a visual, it really helps nail down what's the concepts. And it helps you visualize the flow, which means it makes it easier for you guys to see if something is not working out so well, or if it's working perfectly, right? So, and there are mainly 3 ways that you can storyboard when you think of a product or of a service that you're trying to organize. You have the linear and 2 non-linear ways. The most common is when you start with the simple context. So you reflect on the situation. So your first storyboard, your first image, your first phrase, aspect of it would be in relating to the situation, right? But the current situation, what is happening now? And then you can go through the complication, which means you talk about the situation, and then you say why it's not acceptable. Let's take a very common example. The situation is you go to the movie and you love going to the movies. It's a wonderful experience. The complication, you get to the movie and there are no popcorns. And this is an extremely important problem to solve, because if you don't have popcorns, everyone knows that you just cannot enjoy the cinema as much as with any other candy. Yeah, popcorn fan here. So then the resolution would be, oh my God, they finally opened and they brought it back. It was, they were out of it and now they brought it back. Or even better, you have your own popcorn machine that you bring with you. So this is basically the idea. First, you give the context of what happens in reality. Then you illustrate what is the complication and why it's so important. And the third step would be explaining the resolution, how you solve it, or in what way your product is solving it. Of course, you can always do it also in a non-linear way, where you start with the complication and you explain why it is a problem. And then you kind of walk backwards. You explain the complication because the normal situation is ABS, and the resolution would be your product. And another non-linear, and this is the one I recommend the least, is when you immediately start with the solution and you say, yes, this popcorn machine, this portable popcorn machine is perfect because I can take it with me everywhere. And then I don't even have to think about the situation that I'm in a cinema and that might be the complication of not having popcorns. I carry it with me all the time. So normally I'm normally an advocate for the linear because it really follows the most regular thought flow. Usually people, when they think about a solution, they tend to think first on what's happening at the moment, right? And then it's easier to depart from that point. You can kind of do a sort of what's in political speeches is mostly called evoke, revoke, and reframe. Meaning you talk about the situation, you elicit a certain kind of feelings to the people, and then you kind of revoke those feelings by talking about the complication, the situation that is happening that is not so positive. And you reframe it by presenting the resolution. So it's like, for instance, hey, you know Spain? Yeah, of course, I've been to Spain. So beautiful, wonderful food, lovely people, delicious beaches, delicious sun. It's fantastic. Yeah, you know, but yeah, I love it too. But now it's been such a terrible situation with COVID. You can't visit. So you elicit the positive feeling. You revoke it because now you're saying, yeah, it's a beautiful country, but you know, now with the COVID situation, the pandemic, you can't really visit. And then the person like, oh yeah, that's true. And then you can come with a resolution. But hey, I just developed this amazing app called Zoom that allows you to have video calls. And it's exactly like if the person was here. And look, you can even have backgrounds of beaches. It's like being in Spain. So it's really to give the flow of what your product does, but also creating some empathy and associated with the emotions that you want the people to have to follow you. That's why I normally am a big fan of the linear form. Although yes, if you use the second linear form, it also helps. So the key takeaways I want you to get from here is that the first step is identify the problem. Before you start any storyboarding, identify the problem. Establish the characters. And by characters, I mean, who are the people that are being affected? Who are your personas? Write out the moments that are happening now and the moments where they are affected and the moments that you want it to come after they use your product and that they solve it. And then you can, again, overlay moments with emotions, actions, thoughts, and sketch out each scene from end to end of the story, because it's really important to have a visual picture. Again, when you have the visual exam, you can, even if it's just Post-its, there are several ways. You can start with the goal and then work backwards, or you can even just start imagining what you would like the journey to be. So how do I build my story? So everyone with me so far? Any questions? Any reflections?
There's a question in the chat.
Yes.
I'll read it for you. So Anima Fatla Grasa says, in which context do you think the non-linear approach can actually work?
Well, the non-linear approach works as long as you can quickly make the relation, right? So let me go back here. So the non-linear approach, it can work as long as you can quickly make the connection. It really depends a bit on the audience that you have on the other side and the people that you're trying to get the buy-in. Okay, so what makes it work or not is if you have very clear what the complication is, what the situation is. You can always go back and forth. Here, the rule is know your subject. Really, you have to be very, very, very clear. You have to know your subject. Failure to do so will result in the loss of opportunities and loss of buy-in. Because only if you really know your project, your product, only if you really know your subject, will you be able to go between the linear and non-linear. A practical example. Imagine you have someone that's like, you know, they have time. They booked you an hour meeting. They have time. No stress. So you can go and you really go through, okay, this is the situation. It's happening, give you time. Imagine that someone is really in a hurry. They're like, come on, look, you have like 20 minutes. Like, give me the highlights. Then maybe you want to really go like straight to the point. Okay, what I'm thinking about is this particular complication. And then the other person will be like, okay, why this complication? And then you can like, because right now they are doing ABC, and we can solve this by our product XYZ. So I think the change between linear and nonlinear depends on two factors. First of all, really know your subject. So you have absolutely no problem in explaining back, forth, up, down, in any way possible. So you have to feel comfortable with the journey that you came up with. And then it's also going to be a bit depending on the person that's on the other side to help you with. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, she says, thank you.
Any other questions on this? Feel free to intervene, raise your hand. If you want me to go back, feel free to raise your hand.
So far, the chat is clear.
Okay.
I'm going to check in Facebook Live since we are going live, but...
Okay. So something that I like to compare storytelling is very much like making a movie or writing a book. So an important aspect is the plot, also known as the situation. So what is happening? This is where you define the characters, the imagery, you create your user personas, and you develop the story about each of the personas, why they need your product, why they would use it. So you reflect what their situation is. Don't try to overdo it at this stage. Don't try to overdo it with too much data, too much stats or analytics. Just remember, people are experts at problems, but you want to be the ones that provide the solution. So here in this phase, what you need to focus on is really understanding each of the personas. So you can really give a clear picture of the situation that they're facing. So what is the situation that would make them want a specific functionality, a specific feature? What would be the motivation? Why would they need it? Oh. And then you have to explain, you have to give the build-up, which in movies and books is basically called the conflict. So first you do the hero, the protagonist, right? The person that has the situation that is in the daily context. Then there's a conflict. The villain appears, a situation that needs to be overcome. So for this, I always say that less is more. So keep it mundane. When you want to explain a situation, keep it to mundane examples. Even jokey ones, like with the popcorn. But keep it simple, relatable, and clear. And you can even use this formula, like, I, as a persona, I want this, XYZ, so I can do WHC. Yeah? And I give here an example. As a project manager, I want to save time and have a quick overview of all my tasks so that I can be more productive and focus more on helping my team. Okay, so the user persona here would be me, product manager. What is the situation? What do I need to solve? I want to save time. Like, I want to have a quick overview of all my tasks. Why is this important for me? Why would I need it and not other things? Well, because I want to focus on helping my team. So I want my tasks to be automated. I can easily have an overview. So always make it relatable and make your user have a name, not just a job title. It's completely different if I tell you, project managers, they need to have time and they need a way to have a quick overview of their tasks, because that way they can be more productive and focus on helping my team. That is completely different than saying, Yeah, I'm talking to my friend Louisa. She's a product manager. And Louisa, she has a team of 10 people. And she's struggling. She's struggling because she really they're new. They're new. She's just onboarded them, so they need her attention. But she's losing so much time keeping overview of all her tasks. It's more relatable. All of a sudden, it's not just a product manager. It's Louisa, which can absolutely be your colleague. It can be you. It's something that you immediately imagine that can happen at any moment in your job, in your colleague's job. So you understand that it can happen every day. And if your product managers yourself, they say, oh yeah, that's true. That's happened. Like I just onboarded now 3 new people, and they really, yeah, it's true. In the early phases, they really need a lot of my attention and training. So it would be good if I could have some tasks, some processes automatized that I could just have a quick overview and follow up without having to spend so much time. The goal here is to personalize and humanize. So make it human with real problems that need to be solved. And then the favorite part of everyone, the solution to the situation. And that's why I like to call this an exercise in trust. Because when you develop a product, when you start your story, you're wanting to make a promise that your service, your product, whatever it is that you created, whatever idea that you came up with, you're kind of making a promise that it will improve a situation. It'll solve a problem. It'll help something get better. And step 2 is that you better deliver on what you're saying, right? That's why it's so important that you clearly identify your solution. Where are you solving your problem? And to really make it visual, that it's easy to understand the end goal. And always remember, people are driven by emotion. They all like to think they're not, but they are. And like the most famous sentence ever, they don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. They don't buy a pen because it's a pen. They buy that pen because it has a specific kind of ink. It rolls, it has like, it really goes well with the paper. It's a specific kind of blue. And you really did it because you want to help people that really like to use that specific kind of paper that goes with that specific kind of ink pen. And that's why we always recommend have a flow that people can usually follow, where you identify the person, the persona, so the users, the pain point, identify the solution, and then illustrate the result. So really demonstrate what you envision, what the result should be. So if you're saying, for instance, yes, with this new Coca-Cola, the person is much more refreshed, then you can, for instance, put an image of someone being really sweating, drinks a Coke, and then you can put an image of the person heading to the beach, or just with a t-shirt feeling more refreshed. The important is illustrate it so people can really relate to it. Okay, how's it going so far?
There's a question in the chat.
Yeah.
From Prem Aurora, which says, if you don't use data, how do you prioritize one story with other? And this happens right before you decide to invest in one story. Thoughts?
So a clarification, you do use the data. What we're talking about here is when you create the story to show to others to get buy-in. And the example that I'm trying to say is, when you build a story, give enough data, but don't overdo it with the data. So the data has to be used in advance while you're preparing the story, right? So when you have a user and you have problem A, B, C, and D, then of course you need to use the data to justify what problem needs to be solved. But then you have to put it into words, right? So you have to somehow convert the data into words that everyone can understand, right? Because if you stick only to the data, then the people that will understand it might be a lot more limited. Maybe the mobile developers will understand it. Maybe the engineers will understand it. Maybe data analysts will understand it. But you still need to find a way to turn that data into a story and to justify why it's important to solve that issue. It's always backed up on data. When you say don't overdo it with data, it's when you create the story to present it, to do the storyboard. For instance, it's very different saying, I am creating this, let's take an example. Let's take a CodeCheck, which is an app that allows people to check the ingredients of cosmetics, food, everything. I don't know if you know it, but yeah, sorry for the advertising, but it's, I promise I have nothing to do with them, but it's just the example that came to mind. It's very different to say, this app is going to be a success, it solves a problem because 95% of the people want to know what's in their product, and 35% said that they really wanted to know what was in their cosmetics, and 40% reported that they wanted to know what is in their shower gel. It's very different saying it like this than saying, okay, you know what? Carlos and Ana, they are really concerned because they're trying to live a more sustainable lifestyle. And sometimes they really struggle with understanding which of the products has really sustainable ingredients because they don't know so much. And it's difficult for them to always follow the labels and to always read the labels. CodeCheck makes it so much easier for them. They go, they scan, and they immediately have their information on if a product is toxic or not. And it makes it so much easier for them to continue with their sustainable lifestyle and helps them choose their products. Do you see the difference? Did I answer your question?
Yeah, write in the chat if this is, yeah, he says, he or she, I don't know, she says yes, thank you.
Yeah. So it gets back always to the, get the data, analyze the data, and then make it personalizable, make it personable, make it human, make it relatable, make it in a language that people easily understand why it exists and why it's needed, and especially what it is that it's solving. Okay, so actually, yeah, I didn't expect to be so many people because I wanted to try and give you guys a little exercise here with a situation and to get you guys a bit into the storytelling mode. So here's the example I brought you. If it works. So the situation. You guys work for a big Fortune 100 company that has been around for over 100 years. The team, developers, designers, subject matter experts, and us, product managers, have been working on this for months. What is the product? We are launching our first mobile app for teenagers. And it allows the hearing impaired users, teenagers in this case, to control the hearing device through their phone like a remote control. Nice. So let me go back because I forget that if I touch something else. So here's the challenge. You guys have a presentation. Before the launch, we are going to present the product to a group of clients. So does anyone want to venture into turning this into a short story? How would you present it? Does anyone want to write in the chat or be unmuted and give it a try?
You can raise your hand or send a message in the chat as Gisela is saying, either write it down, or if you want to present it, you can let us know and we will unmute you so you can do the presentation.
Come on, let's see you guys take this challenge on. It's a company. You're working with your team of developers and you're super excited because you just came up with a mobile app for teenagers that allows the hearing impaired to just simply control all the function of the hearing aid with their phone. That's fantastic, right? So how would you pitch this? What's your guess on what is the problem that could be solving? You already have the personas, which would be the teenagers. You already know that it's a mobile app. You know what it does. Anyone want to venture trying to build a very short story? What would be like a pitch?
We have someone here in the chat saying hi. I'm guessing that is someone very eager.
Yay, fantastic.
Present.
Let's unmute this beautiful soul that it can participate.
Stella, can you unmute them? You're muted.
Yeah, so Kritika, would you like to present? Are you ready? We have a few people saying hi. I can unmute. Okay, I'll unmute you and you can present, okay?
Great, then let's do a
you are live now.
And you can support each other.
Yeah, we also have Ruchin afterwards.
Okay, so Kritika, you can talk now. I think we can hear you.
Hi everyone.
Hey.
I'm Kritika from.
Hi Kritika.
Hi, I'm from India. I'm a UX designer, and I'm very eager in user experience research and product management. So, what as per the example you gave us, what I feel is the story can be like there is a girl, and she is like especially able, and many a times it's hard for her to get to know where is her remote control of her hearing device, and oftentimes she forgets where it has, like she has left it. So with this app, this teenager, and she goes to school as well, many times because of like classes in different rooms, she can't remember where she left her remote. So with this app, she'll have the capability of managing her hearing device right on the go without caring about where her remote is, and she can easily use the app to easily her life will be improved because of the app, as she don't have to bother about any remote control and she can do it on the go within her phone.
Fantastic, Kritika. That's exactly what storytelling is. You took the person, you explained the situation that needs to be solved. This girl, she constantly forgets her device for the hearing aid. And then it's a bother. She forgets it all the time. You identified the problem that needs being solved. And then you say, okay, now with this app, her life is so much easier because she can just take her phone and solve it. So you successfully touched all the points. The current situation, what needs to be solved, and what the result would be. And this was the crucial storytelling. And the fact that you really said, she loses, it's a bother, it makes it relatable.
Right.
Thank you, Kritika. We have someone else.
Thank you.
We have someone else, Rushin. I hope you are ready. I'm gonna unmute you now. Okay.
Yes, hello everyone. I'm Ruchin Agrawal from India again.
Hello, nice to meet you.
Hi.
Nice to meet you all as well. So I am working as a product owner in the business solutions department. So I would want to present my perspective on this particular thing. So the story for me will go like this. The first part will be the same, that the person is having hearing impairment, but that particular person is not able to access the remote again and again, and he has a lot of problems while accessing the remote from different locations, and he has to do that particular thing all through the day, right? He has to switch it on and off and do all that sort of stuff. So the problem statement is that we have to actually make it quite accessible for that person. And now when it comes to the solution, my observation goes down to the childhood of the people of those teenagers. So as we have seen that in since the childhood, people have started grabbing the mobile phones quite a lot in their hands, and they have access to the mobile phones, and that is one thing which is almost every time over there with everyone. So why don't we connect the thing which is mostly accessible to that person to our problem statement? So this is how we are going to create an application. The solution is ultimately going to be like this, that we are going to create an application on that most accessible thing, and then probably allow the person to easily go and do anything on the go whenever they want to do.
Great pitch, great pitch. You went a bit deeper and you really explained why you wanted to use that particular device and not other. You explained how it would specifically solve, and you related it to the current situation and use of the persona. Excellent, excellent. Anyone else want to continue and build upon what Kritika and Rushin said? I'll get so far. Anyone want to continue to comment?
I don't see any more hands up or messages. So
Okay. So I actually like to share one of the examples that I thought was really interesting from a previous session that I did, that I thought was really interesting, was with a little girl, a little teenager, Louisa. She's 15 years old. She's hearing impaired. She uses a hearing aid and everyone sees it, because every time she needs to adjust it, she has to take it off and do it manually. So in this case, she has absolutely no remote control. And this is really, really making her sad, because everyone notices it, makes fun of Louisa. She really has a hard time going to class or hanging out with others because she feels so embarrassed. And it's hard to focus or make friends. That's why they created the Hello Friend app. This is just created, it doesn't exist, where Louisa can now control her functionalities discreetly through the mobile phone. Nobody even notices it. Oh, sorry, nobody even notices it. So now, with just a screen touch, she can adjust the sound, the directionality, and best of all, she can do it discreetly. People don't even have to notice it. She feels so much more confident, and now is more able to focus on her schoolwork and hang out with her friends. So as you see, it follows a bit the same story line that you guys did. This was one of the stories that came out from one of the previous sessions. And here is a question that comes a lot for people specifically that are in big corporations that are not used to storytelling, right? Is that, how do I get my product team warmed up and into storytelling? I mean, how do I get buy-in to storytelling? Do any of you faces this issue with your teams? Or is it something that you've already discussed and thought about before?
Sorry, Giselle, before we read the answer to the question you just asked, someone posted another story to the previous challenge that you...
Perfect. Let's go.
It says, Tony and Emma, in the heat of their teens, though having impaired hearing, multitask between a lot of activities, especially with their hands. In such times, they find it quite frustrating to control their hearing device all the time with their hands, which are usually more engaged on their mobile phones. We now have an app which allows teenagers like Tony and Emma to control their hearing device through a mobile app. And this was posted by Raghunath Aditya.
Beautiful, beautiful. It's exactly it. So, and does any of you usually have issues trying to create the story of the product and trying to get the team to be on board with you when you try to design your user journey, when you try to create your story? Do any of you work in big corporations or work in startups? Anyone want to comment?
So far quiet here.
Don't be shy, you guys.
Come on, you passed the hardest. You all created awesome stories. You're already born storytellers.
Okay,
Okay, so
Alda Grasa says that from her experience, it has been helpful to present a story in order to contextualize user personas, for instance.
Yeah.
And Kritika says, yes, sometimes it's hard to get people on board as everyone has different perspectives. And as well, Raghunath Aditya says, yes, it's hard to get everyone brought into the storyline.
Yeah. So here's one way that you can practice with your team how to do the stories together. So one way that I usually do it, and here I'm just sharing my personal experience. You can try it out or not. Is that I try to get the team to work on the story together, and then you can sort of vote on the different aspects of the problem framing, of the user journey, until you all agree with one story. So it's basically a design thinking approach, a design sprint approach to get the team agreed. But there are little exercises that you can sneakily do with your team to get them a bit more on board with it. So I like to call it the Icebreakers 101. And you can even do it as a game, like for example, the image prompt, that you show your team a couple of images related to the product, related to the persona that you want to work on. And you basically tell your sprint team, tell team to build a story with those 3 or 4 images, right? And you can get the ball running, but just by asking a team, okay, so what is happening in the images? What are they doing? What could be happening next? And that really gets the ball running, and it really gets them thinking on what is the problem that they're solving. Because when you ask them, okay, what are they doing? What is happening? It really helps them focus on what's happening. You also have collective story writing, which is actually one of the most commonly used ones. That basically you give the prompt, right? So you tell, okay, this is a story I want to work on, and each of the team members writes, or of the decision makers writes, just one line, and to follow up, and together they try to create the flow. So this is one of the most common used exercises. And also for yourselves, if you just want to practice on it, like if you're not very used to creating storytelling, there are fun ways that you can just practice yourself, and then practice for fun. So you can practice the same exercise with different images, create different combinations. You can practice with a product that you already know, and just think about the journey. And if you're answering the 5 W's that we were mentioning before, who, where, what, and create the persona, just as an exercise in practicing. And one of my favorite things that you can even try out a thing called story cubes. So story cubes is basically a game where you just get random cubes and you have to make story with the images that come out. It's a really fun exercise. You can do it on your own. You can do it with your friends, family, and it's really, it's a fun way to mentally practice this this storytelling mindset and this connecting the dots mindset that allows you to build a story. Although I can see from the examples, we have quite good storytellers here. So that was really nice to see. Yeah, and then I just put together a couple of useful resources to practice storytelling, to read a bit more about storytelling. There's a very good website blog called Sarah Dolly. You have also a YouTube channel called AJ and Smart, that they really focus a lot on how to do product storytelling, product design, and how to get the 2 of them together and getting the teams on board. You could also get your creative juices flowing with the storytelling cubes. Sorry, I had to bring them because they're the best game ever. They're almost like a new version of Lego for adults. And this is really fun too, the Loquato Story Slam cards. So you pick a card and you build your story slam style. So each card comes a sentence and the other person comes with a card. It's almost like a slam poem. So a card comes with a sentence and the other person comes and has to find a way to relate it. And of course, I always say, never leave books. Always bring them with you. And I kind of left you here a bit of my favorite books on storytelling and on creating presentations and buyer personas. So just some resources that you can check out. And yeah, let's discuss. I look forward to hearing what you think and your impressions. Are these things that you encounter in your day-to-day? What are your main issues when you try to create a story for your products? What usually keeps you back?
Prem Aurora was saying, one challenge I get is to have everyone learn the personas and their context. I am trying to establish personas, but since we have quite a few, it gets tough to get it established.
Mm-hmm.
And Kritika was saying, but creating 2-3 personas listing their frustration and goals helps.
Yeah. So basically, Kritika is answering the first question. When with multiple personas, so first of all, what I would recommend is to really check if you really need that many personas. How do they overlap? Do they overlap? Do they not overlap? Do they overlap in crucial aspects? Do you really need them? And then really map them out. And then you can use that as a way to prioritize the different features of your product and make it really clear, okay, this functionality is for this persona, this is for the other one. And then again, based on data, you can decide which persona to prioritize, because different personas at different points of the journey are going to have different needs, right? So you also need to be a bit flexible on that. I would say the important part here is to really map them out and know when they come into play in which part of the overall story. Does that answer your question?
There is also Rushin is asking a question, so I'm gonna unmute him and see where is he. Hi, Rushin. We can hear you now.
Yeah, hi. So I'm back again. So I was having a question around the same lines. So when we were discussing about the user personas and we did discuss about the user story format and all. So while working into the industry, when we work on the backlog and the user stories particularly, so we do write, like most of the stories fall under the category of, as a user, I want to do that so that I can have this, right?
Yeah.
So what, according to you, what would be your suggestions? Like, is it good to write everything from the user's perspective? I understand that the product is ultimately for the customer and end user, and we are definitely doing things and developing things from his perspective. But is it a good practice to go around and write everything from a perspective of a user, or there are different other things, like as a product manager, as a other person as well, we should have backlog items from others' perspective as well?
Okay, so thank you for your question. There are two different aspects here. From a product manager perspective, you need to have a clear overview of everything, right?
Yes.
As a product owner are the ones that go really into detail. So the product owner really needs to write the epics and really needs to write the user stories. So the product owner, he's past the story already. He's really into already the implementation. So he needs to make sure that the details, the aspects have been decided on, right? So the product owner and the product manager need to agree on what are the most important aspects, on what are the features that you want to prioritize, right? So basically the product manager talks to product owner, goes back to the marketing, and comes back with information. Meaning, okay, guys, according to marketing and according with the story that we were creating, we need to prioritize feature A, B, C, and D. And then let's take you as product owner would say, okay, what is the timeline? Okay, the timeline is okay to do all of them, or with this timeline, I can only do A, B, and maybe C. Let's prioritize. right?
Mhm.
And after you prioritize it together, then the product owner will really need to go into the user story of in the user stories of the chosen persona
Mhm.
and dive deeper, right? Because the user stories is what's used for the specifications and implementation of the features of the product, of the characteristics.
And by this you mean that by the time he reaches that particular situation, he should write it from the user's perspective itself, right?
Yes, yes, of course. Yes.
Okay. Yeah,
So
I
for
understand
instance,
that.
I can give you, I like to work with concrete examples. So I can give you the example of where I work. So I work with medical devices, right?
Mhm.
So we have two kinds of users. We have the healthcare professional that uses our mobile app, and we have what we call the end user, so the patient, right? So we have to go through this process for both of them, right? So the product manager meets with the product owner and say, okay, for healthcare professionals, we're going to need these kind of features. For the end users, we're going to need these because they're different personas, they have different needs, different perspectives, right? So together they prioritize for both of the personas. And once you prioritize, then you need to go deep and write the epics and write the user story so that the function can be implemented, right? So for instance, you would say a remote control. You would say, as a user, I want to be able to change channel with the remote control. As a user, I want to be able to change the video settings with the remote control. As a user, I want to be able to control the volume. So that's, and then you go into the specific user stories, right? For instance, if it was
So I completely understand your point, and that is all we do as well. Like more than 90% of the stories are written in the same format, because from the user's perspective, it is good because we have went down to the granular level where we can connect with the end user, and we want to write things from his perspective. I wanted to understand for are there any examples where you would suggest that we should go the other way around? We should write it in a different format. We should write it in from a different perspective. So sometimes we do write the backlog items from other person's perspective as well, right?
No, you always write from the perspective of the user that you're taking in consideration. If it's a healthcare professional, you would think of what user stories, what would be needed from this perspective of a healthcare professional. If you're talking about the normal day-to-day user, they would have different needs. So they would be expecting different functions from the product, right? So you have to again go to that perspective. So I would say that you always have to go through the perspective of the user, the persona that you're thinking about, that you're working on, because each persona has very specific needs from the product. So let's take the example of the mobile app for the hearing aid. As a user, I'm Louisa, I'm 15. I want to be able to change the sound. Okay, I want to be able to change to point to different people, directionality. I'm a healthcare professional, exactly with the same app. What would be interesting for me would be something completely different. For instance, I can say, well, for me as a healthcare professional, I want to be able to see the adjustments that Louisa makes to her hearing aid through the app, so I can know what her preferences were. And then I can see if it indicates a change of hearing or not. As a healthcare professional, I want to see if she put more bass or if she used more sound in calm situation. So I can understand what are preferred settings. So it's two different kinds of needs from the same exact product, and both are equally needed. So you always have to move between the two perspectives.
Yes, yeah, definitely. And then when it comes to the NFRs and all, that is a different story altogether. Yeah, that's a different thing altogether. Yeah, thank you.
It's really important to to be focused on each of the perspectives. Of course, it's more
Correct.
tiring when you have like several personas that have several different needs in regards to the same product, be it physical, be it digital. It's a lot more work, of course. It's a lot more coordination, but it really is crucial for the product to be successful that you're able to analyze and to map out the different journey maps, the different user journey mappings, that you create the different stories for each of the personas so you can really understand which feature, which functionality helps them and solves their problem.
Correct. Yeah. Definitely. And we go ahead in this format itself because ultimately it has to be delivered to the user. Yeah. Thank you for your inputs.
Thank you for your question. Any more questions?
So we have Kritika here saying, I think it's all about the intersection of user goals and business goals. That's what design thinking is.
Exactly.
So Kritika, if you want to ask more about this or comment more about this, I've unmuted you.
Yeah, so it was basically in response to the question he asked, like Ruchin asked, that on what perspective we should write personas and can it be another way around. So what I feel is design thinking is is basically the intersection of meeting the user goals and business goals. So in case a business has a variety of goals and user has extremely different goals, so we should be sitting and having a open chat about how can we align those two goals and which task or activities or features are more important to the user as well as the for driving the business. So
that is the age-old question. How do we get the business to be more customer-centric? How do we get customer-centric to also align with the business goals? That is the age-old question. Sometimes it's easier, sometimes it's harder, but I think it's the constant battle of every product manager. And you're absolutely right. Design thinking does help that. Design thinking, design sprints, because it brings the different teams and it brings the different decision makers together.
Exactly.
But Kritika, you definitely raised the age-old question, which is how do we get them aligned? Yeah. How do we get past when we want to be customer-centric, but then marketing and business has a different perspective. Else. We need to find a way to get them involved.
Like to form a sweet balance between user goals and business goals so that the product is not only user-centric or not like 100% business-oriented. It should have a balance of both the goals.
Yeah, there should always be the so-called sweet spot. That's for sure.
Exactly.
Thank you for the insights. Very good.
We also have Aditya here saying, imagine a situation where a team of 6 is starting off with a new product idea. Do you suggest storytelling would be a way to arrive at a unified common product vision? I'm afraid hearing different stories would deviate us from the actual vision, giving us multiple problems. So I'll just unmute you so you can comment on this.
Yep.
1 sec.
Yeah, hi.
Yep.
Aditya.
Yes.
So this is this particular scenario where we have had this activity of listening to multiple stories, and each of them say their own problem statement from their perspective, and we didn't have this chance of arriving at a median of product vision. So this is completely new product, and so it is initiated by someone, and we have not been able to achieve a unified product vision until now.
Okay, so in these cases, the recommended would definitely be that you build the story together. You build the story together, and how can you do that? You can literally do a problem framing session combined with mapping. What does that look like? You get together, you choose a decision maker just in case you get stuck, right? And you go through what we in Design Sprint call problem framing session, meaning you start with the general problem. You know, the one that everyone agreed on that led to the creation of the product. you know, like your general assumption. For instance, the assumption here is teenagers have a hard time without being able to have a hard time controlling their hearing aids. Okay. And then you go through it section by section. Meaning you can start with the what. What is the situation? And everyone writes on a post-it what they think the situation is. You time box it. You're like, okay, 5 minutes. Everyone writes in a post-it what they think the situation is. And then you vote.
Okay.
You choose the top voted one and you move to, okay, now let's go to the audience. To who does this happen? Again, everyone votes in everyone writes in the corner what their ideas are. Again, you vote, you choose the top one. If there is a tie, you get a decision maker. You move forward. Where does this happen? You repeat the process, right? And once everything has been voted, you take exactly the people, you take the what, the where, the when, and the who, and you create a map. And each of the team members creates a map, creates their own user journey. And then again, you vote on which aspect of the journey, like you can, for instance, give 9 steps, beginning of the journey, end of the journey with goal. And you can even, okay, let's start with the goal and then you walk backwards. And each team member makes a role, which is a journey map. And then you vote again on which one you prefer. You choose the top one. You review if there's any aspect of the previous ones that you would still like to include. And you reach a democratic consensus.
Got it.
Ideally.
Thanks so much.
Because everyone is doing, because it's a collaborative construction. So you get everyone together. And by everyone, I mean, please make sure you take the relevant people from the teams, right? Like, don't do this with a team of 15 people.
Yeah.
Do this with a team of 5, 8 maximum, right? So really the decision makers. Yeah. Why am I saying this? To make sure that what gets decided really gets decided.
Yeah. And also, I'm also concerned of the fact that they have to get the vision. Like, they should not be ideally working on someone else's vision. They should be in align with the vision and in flow. So that's my concern here as well.
Exactly. And this consensus comes from working together and from what they usually call also in design thinking, working together alone, which means that everyone gets to have their voice heard because everyone writes on the post-it what they think. Everyone gets a vote. And everyone is with the understanding that, hey, okay, I voted, this was consensually decided. I would say this kind of something that I think is really important, this kind of sense of session, what is important is that you set expectations right from the beginning. We say, okay, guys, we're going to be working together on this. What gets to, everyone is going to have a voice. We're going to go through voting. We're going to have time for discussion. What's really important is that what gets decided now at the end of this session gets decided. Okay, it's alignment. We decided, we closed the door. There was alignment. There were the team representatives of the different departments. There's a decision maker. Everyone gets to participate. Everyone gets to have their voice heard. Everyone gets to pitch in their vote. That's why it's important that the team is really composed of the decision-making people and of the people more involved, more directly involved with the project, right? Or with the development of the product. So not 15 people, not 20 people, 8 would be ideal, 12 absolute maximum.
Okay, understood. Thanks so much.
Thanks for the question.
All right.
It helps.
We have a couple more questions. One sec.
Great. Good to see you guys getting active.
Yeah. So Hassan, I don't know if this is a question or not, but I can unmute you so you can comment. You wrote, we can have multiple user personas. We can create we can create segments of users based on different parameters. So I'll just unmute Hassan if you want to talk about this. One sec.
Indeed, we can.
Okay.
Yeah, hello everyone. This is Hassan. Actually, I
Hi,
want to
Hassan.
clear. Yeah, hey. So basically, I want to clear the point that while creating the plot, do we have set the boundary while plotting the story and considering the user personas as if we create the boundary and well define the problem what we are trying to resolve, then everyone in the group who are the decision makers can be in the boundary while designing their respective stories.
Yeah, you can design it
So
together. That's how you get
yeah,
the teams on board. That's how you get teams aligned.
yeah. So while designing the user stories, everyone have its own perspective of designing, telling the user story. So my question is, if we set a boundary over their thinking, so they are limited to think over the respective boundary while creating stories, or for getting the solution out of the box solution, we should unbound the overall strategy or plot.
No, you don't need to put boundaries. If you do a session where you're running the team, what you can do is that you time box the discussion period.
Yeah.
Right?
Got it.
Well, there's always, both in design sprint and design thinking, there's this moment where you're prioritizing quantity over quality, right? Where you want people to put as many ideas as possible, as many ideas, suggestions, paths possible. What you do is you control it, you put it in a time box so that then people can vote and choose the most relevant one.
Got it.
For that
Got it.
particular
Thank you.
case. Because when you're collaborating in a team, you do want to make sure that they feel heard, right? And sometimes if you just tell them, okay, write everything on a post-it, and then you don't give them a time for a brief discussion that they can explain their idea a bit better, then maybe the collaboration won't have as much quality, right? So it's important to balance a bit that the time that they work, it's the famous working together alone. So it's really important to box the time that they're putting all the ideas, no judgment, prioritizing really quantity over quality. You know, like you really put all your ideas, you really want things to come out judgment-free. And then you're like, okay, now let's take a look at it. Let's see what's repeated or not. Anyone wants to explain a bit more their idea? Okay, but you time box it, you know, to make sure that you trust the process. You time box it so you can make sure that, okay, you had your time, so now we need to move forward. And that's also something that you can say when setting expectations. And the good thing about this is that it really is a way to get teams aligned, because I can absolutely relate to the issues that you're mentioning. And Rasheen, also that when you have to work with different kinds of personas and with a big team, that everyone has their different idea, their favorite persona, their different ideas of user journey. Let's be honest, it's difficult to get everyone aligned, right?
Yeah.
I mean, everyone has their ideas, everyone has their experience, like, it's difficult. And yet it is necessary. Otherwise you can't move forward, right? Otherwise you can't implement anything in the product. So discussions have to be made, sacrifices have to be made, but above everything, there has to be alignment. So, so you have to get them to collaborate. And the way to get them to collaborate is if you really give them a chance to participate, show their ideas, but also give the feeling that, okay, this is a democratic process. You know, it's like we're going to see which ideas make more sense for us. We vote, we move on. We vote, we move on. We vote, we move on. And every time they vote, you're like, okay, this was the decision. This is the consensus. Anyone still has anything more to say? Speak now or forever hold your tongue, and then move forward. Because it is important to hear, it is important to get the collaborative and that you time box the discussions, but it's also really important to say, okay, time out, discussion is now finished, this was a decision made, we move forward.
Got it. Thank you.
Welcome. I hope this answers your question.
Great, Hassan. We have one more question from Raghunath Aditya. I will unmute you. All right, go ahead.
Hey, hi everyone.
Hello.
Are you able to hear? I hope you're able to hear me.
Yes, absolutely.
So this was on a slightly different topic, but regarding the user story format, I've heard a lot about this another framework called the jobs to do framework.
Mm-hmm.
So my question was, when do you think it's more appropriate for what kind of a product or for what kind of a user segment is it more appropriate to use this jobs to do framework?
For everything. You can combine it with everything, because every product you do, every product you build, it's supposed to serve a function. That's where the whole jobs to be done comes from. Every product you do is serving a function. It's solving an issue to the user. So it's a framework that you can use basically anytime, anywhere with any product. Because a good product is solving an issue. A useful product, a successful product, is solving something. It's performing a job, a function. So it's as simple as that.
But how does that tie? How does that tie into the standard user story format that we normally follow? So is it anything different, or are they both ultimately the same thing?
I would say they're ultimately the same thing, right? Because whenever you do a user story, the user story, and now I'm not even talking about the personas, I'm really talking about when you write the user story as a product owner, not as product manager, but as product owner. Whenever you write the user story, you need to focus on what is the function, on what is the need. Like as a user, I want to control the volume so that I can hear better or lower it when it bothers me. As a user, I want to be able to choose different settings so that I can adjust when I go to a restaurant and when I go to a discotheque. So that is the job that is the function that will need to be performed.
Okay, got it.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, got it. Thank you.
The framework is very similar. And with user stories, you always have to go into detail. So and really specify what you want it to do, because that's exactly what's used later for the specifications and for the mobile developers to implement, or for the people in the hardware that are creating or doing the prototype to implement. So you always need to go at it from the perspective of, okay, what is the function that needs to be performed? What is the result that needs to be performed?
Okay, so basically we can use this framework to detail out the user stories and also to create different user stories.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So the jobs to be done, the framework is exactly when you start thinking about, okay, what is the resolution? How it's answering how do you want to solve the problem? So it's the same framework. It's basically the same framework with a fancier name, but it's the same. And it's really being used right now precisely because it's so practical and straight to the point. And because it really makes you focus on what is being solved. So it's very question answer. That's why it's become such a famous and such used framework, because it works. It really works. And we like to combine it with also design thinking methodologies. And in terms of, it helps keeping this framework in mind when you go into the ideation process. So it's two frameworks that go really well together.
Okay. Got it. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay. These are great questions, everyone. So anyone have any more questions? Last chance.
Super happy to see you guys so engaged and so many good questions.
Yeah, true.
Thank you so
Great
much.
shares, great
What a
comments.
fantastic audience. It's a bit weird, you're all muted, but thank you so much for all the questions and all the engagement.
Yeah. I'm sure they're all smiling when you say that.
So big thank you from the typewriter when you write your stories. And yeah, so get in touch. Feel free to contact me if you have questions. Follow me on LinkedIn. And yeah.
Yeah, be sure to follow her and reach out, you guys. This is a great tool that you have here, this pool of knowledge that is Gisela.
Thank you. If you have any questions, if you want to exchange resources, if you want more tips, or if there's frameworks that you want to share, and just, I'm always happy to share best practices and exchange experiences, learn from you guys, learn from what your experiences, and learn with how you're dealing with your situations. I'm really looking forward to learning from you guys, and also experience from you.
Yeah, that's great. I will suggest that if you guys employ any of the methods that Gisela told you today, maybe reach out to her, tell her how it went, tell her how it worked.
Oh, absolutely. I would definitely love to see that.
Yeah. Well, everyone say in the chat, thank you so much. This was awesome, very useful. So congratulations, Gisela. This was really great. Thank you so much. It was lovely having you.
Thank you guys.
I learned so much that I will also use in my day-to-day. So thank you.
Thank you so much, you guys. It was really a pleasure.
Yeah.
And thank you guys for hosting and for making this happen.
Yeah, it was a pleasure.
Marcela, Madalena, Daniel. So thank you so much. It was really a pleasure to be able to join you guys, to get to know a bit more of what we've been doing with the Startup Grind Lisbon. Do keep me informed with more of your events. I mean, I know there's going to be some in June, so I will definitely join and hear and learn from what you're developing.
Yeah.
Definitely very, very excited about all the fantastic work you've been doing.
Thank you.
And yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
And I will say to everyone participating today, we have very great events coming in June and July. We have a Women in Tech panel coming up June 17th, and then a Women Founders panel June 24th. You'll be able to find all the information. We'll post the events in the coming days on our Startup Grind Lisbon chapter page, the same place where you found this event. So yeah, be sure to check it out, and we hope to see you guys in our next events. It was great having you.
Yes, you can also join our Facebook page to keep updated on events if that works better. But always the reservation will go through the Startup Grind portal. I'll leave here the Facebook page in case you wanna like and follow and be informed. And as Madalena say, thank you very much, and stay tuned because we are coming with a lot of events. We intend to have at least one event a month. This month we are coming with 3, so we are gonna be very busy, but usually it's gonna be between 1 and 2 max because it's a lot of work.
A lot of work.
To get this, but this is amazing to get a nice crowd and to get Gisela and amazing speakers that we are preparing, full of knowledge and information so we can all grow and learn together, which is our goal.
Yeah. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you, guys.
And see you soon.
See you
Bye.
soon. Bye, everyone.
Bye.